Today is another great day at Public School number 6 as we sponsor and of course house our second annual Save the Village Conference initiative. And out of this today comes another great experience, not only for adults but for our young people most of all. Our young people have been able to come together, talk about concerns, and I think what is most important of this is that we see some action afterwards. We can come together and be emotional about many things, but what is to follow that end product? So there's an action plan that needs to be formed in order to reach our goals. And I just would like to say to the committee, to the leaders, to the parents, to the Paterson School District, thank you for giving this initiative your support and blessings that we can come together again and share and have a real family talk. And certainly to Mr. Ernie Rucker and Commissioner Brent, our two co-chairpersons, I want to commend you for being so forceful and having the insight that we must enforce the issue. And the issue is knowing who you are, regardless to what you look like, regardless to where you come from. We are all in this together. Again, thank you, and let's have a great second annual Black Initiative, or shall I say, Black Condition Conference and Discussion.
Good afternoon. My name is Quan Hargrove, Director of the Paterson Youth Services Bureau. This is the Total Lifestyle and Support Program, and we support the Black Conditions Conference. Thank you.
Good afternoon, it's Dave Gilmore, and I'm here at the Save the Village Black Condition Conference, and I'm here to lend my support for everything that we can do to make sure our community is represented well and that some of the conditions that we're suffering under are improved in 2016. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kevin Wallace-Wamba Sr. from Raising the Roof Radio, also from Save the Village Coalition. I just want to say today is an amazing day. This organization has put together its second annual Black Condition Conference, and it is simply fascinating. There are so many people here. There are so many issues that are being addressed. There are so many organizations that have come together to try and get Paterson back into prominence where it should have been from the very beginning. We are doing amazing things.
This is Donna Nelson-Ivy coming to you live from the second annual Save the Village Black Conditions Conference. Yeah, and I am so excited to be here. It's a wonderful turnout again.
Hi, my name is Deborah Rucker. I'm Ernest Rucker's sister, and I'm here at the conference, and we are enjoying ourselves. This is marvelous. All of Paterson should be here. All of Paterson. We need to acknowledge what's going on in our city and address it. This is a perfect forum.
God bless you, family. How are you? It's a beautiful day. We're here in Paterson for the Black Conference to solve problems and things that we're going on in our community. And we want to say to the family, let's continue to pray and hold on to God's unchanging hand, because in truth, we are the original people. One day at a time. That's how you do it. But ultimately, as you begin to breathe and stay on your knees, and ultimately to be able to put yourself in a position to help yourself and love yourself before you can love anyone else. If we can do that, as a people, we're going to be all right. One day at a time.
How you doing? Matt McCoy here at the annual Save the Village Black Condition Conference 2016. Awesome group, awesome community effort, and it boils down to us banding together as a people, as a community, to do what we need to do to seek change and see change in our community. No one is coming to save us. We're going to save ourselves, and I'm just happy to be here with this network of great minds that are finding solutions to our issues, economic empowerment, economic development, youth empowerment, women issues. All of these workshops and groups are coming together to sit down and discuss our issues, but not only discuss them, but come up with resolutions and ways to solve the issues that we face in our community. So once again, I'm excited about our future. Save the Village Black Condition Conference is doing some amazing things in the city of Paterson, partnershiping with a number of different community groups Paterson Cares, NAACP, some of our community churches, our leaders are all here at the table to make a difference in our community. So I'm excited to be here, and I'll see you next year.
Hi, my name is Marcella. I came here just to network and meet other people that are interested in engaging with Black concerns, what's going on in our communities, and what we can do to make things better, and see how I can contribute anything that I can do.
It's about Black empowerment. It's about empowering ourselves. We are the leaders that we have been looking for. We got to stop looking outside and we have to begin to look within. The only way we're going to get out of this sick condition that we're in, we're going to have to be our own liberators. Peace and power.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Oh, we'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Everybody sing, we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall
As we conclude Black History Month, it's our goal as a Save the Village initiative to empower our community towards progressive change. One of the ways that our forefathers did this was always through their reliance and faith. At this time, we're going to invite Reverend McLeod, representing the Redeemed Tabernacle of Deliverance Church here in Paterson, to give us our invocation on today's festivities. Thank you.
Eternal God, our Father, the maker of heaven and earth, we come before you this morning, oh God, first of all, to tell you thank you. We thank you, oh God, for last night's sleep. We thank you, oh God, for how our lives hung in the balance between life and death. You allowed us to slumber during the night. But God, you woke us up this morning with your finger of love. Lord, you gave us the activities of our limbs. You blessed us with a reasonable portion of life, health, and strength. And for that reason, we tell you, thank you. God, we come before you this morning, oh God, in an urgency. We come before you this morning, oh God, because we need you. We need you, oh God, in our community. We need you, oh God, in our homes. We need you, oh God, in our schools. We need you, oh God, as we walk the streets of Passaic County. We need you, oh God, specifically in Paterson, New Jersey. And so, God, we call on you today because we have no one else that we can turn to but you. And so, God, today we ask that you, oh God, that you would touch the speakers that will come before us today. We ask, God, that you would give them perfect clarity of speech. We're asking you today, oh God, to tap on the ears of those that will hear and give them ears to hear, oh God, what you will have us to hear on today, that we will leave this place better than we came. But God, today we're asking prayer for our city leaders, for our politicians, our teachers. We're asking prayer today, oh God, for our school system. We're asking prayer today, God, for those in City Hall. We're asking prayer today, oh God, for those, oh God, that have plotted and schemed against the black neighborhood. But God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we're asking you to send help from above. We're asking you, oh God, Lord, to root out all of those demonic spirits, God, that have plagued our community. And so, God, we ask that you would come by here this afternoon, God. We need you in this place today. We can't do nothing unless you stop by here. And so, God, we're asking that you would remember the visionaries and those that worked hard to put this conference together today. We're asking you, Lord, to breathe on this conference today. Lord, we know and we realize that it should be standing room only. But God, what we know about you as being God, you don't need a whole lot of folk to do anything. But Lord, all you need is a few hands that are willing to say, Lord, use me for your glory. So those of us that are here today, God, use us, oh God, for your glory. Use, oh God, those leaders that you have put into place in this city, oh God, to fight the political battles for us, to fight the economic battles for us, God. Lord, we ask that you would strengthen us, breathe on us, put us in strategic places, oh God, so that we can be voices that can speak for your people. Lord, we thank you for blessing this occasion today. We thank you for putting your approval on this conference. And so, God, as we leave this place today, leave us with the mindset that we must work, that we must fight, that we must do what we must do to bring our community back to the place where it once was. God, we thank you in advance today for what we know you're going to do in this place. And we ask these and all wonderful blessings in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen.
We're excited about today and all of the information and the activities that we have planned. One of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we have everyone on the same page. So I would like to invite Mr. Ernest Rucker to come and give us our call to action, to give us some direction and motivation for where we're going in today's agenda. Mr. Rucker?
Good morning. I'm going to steal a line from a friend of mine, and she'll probably call me later, and so I took her line from her. but she talks about we the people. In the black community, the Latino community, we're always being pitted against each other. And it's not by the people of the community, and it's usually by the political strength of our community. When we talk about a call to action, I'm talking about us getting together and taking care of our own homes. You see, I'm very pro-black. Does not mean I'm anti-anybody. Let me say that again. I am pro-black, but I'm not anti-anybody. What we need to understand is the things that are going on in our community, we turn a blind eye to it. So there's a call to action to take care of your community. There's a call to action to be involved in the education system of your children. And when I say the word education, we take it for granted they go to school, they learn. That's not true. There's a call to action for black folks to stand on both feet and be counted. Let's stop blaming everybody else for our issues. Let's stop blaming the bodega for not hiring us, open some stores. There's a call to action today. In order for you to grow within a society, you have to put your best foot forward. You can't say to me, well, listen, Ernie, how did you get that? I'm going to tell you, it's up to you to get it yourself. There's a call to action today. Our young men and women are dying at record numbers on the streets of Paterson. There's a call to action for us to stand up. The police can't do this. The politicians can't do this. This is a joint effort. I look out at the audience, I know most of you, the ones I don't know, I will get to know before I leave here. Because there's a call to action today. The Black Condition Conference, as I stated about myself, is not anti-anybody. We're pro-growth. We're pro-building our community. In order for you to be a good citizen and an equal partner with other communities, you have to build yours first. Anyone that tells you that we need to be universal first and not build our community, get away from them. Get away from them. I see young people, I see old people, see middle-aged people. We all have the same problem. And the situation about you being your brother's keeper, well, let me tell you something, guys. If you're not, no one else will do it for you. This is a call to action. This is a call to the NAACP. It's a call to New Family. It's a call to Save the Village. It's a call to the Grandparents Program. And every other program and group that's in the city of Paterson is a call to action. It's time that we understand nobody's coming to save us. I want to hear y'all now. Do you think anybody's coming to save us? Let's hear it louder. No. We have a political situation in this city where we fought and died to make sure that we had representation and a place at the table. But believe it or not, it's not somebody else taking it from us. We're taking it from us. We're not understanding that a call to action is a personal thing. It's helping your brother that's next door. It's making sure your neighbor's kids go to school. It's a call to action. If you look at your national politics, what's that guy's name? Trump. He's letting us know if he gets in office, if you're Latino, if you're black, you'll be leaving here. I don't know where we're going, but we definitely, it's part of the game. We need to understand that we have a responsibility to make sure Black history is taught in our public schools, not as Black history, but American history. We sit back and we think that we have to be that group that is politically correct. Well, any of you that know me, I'm very unpolitically correct. You call a spade, a little twist on words there. You make sure, in order for your family to survive, you do what is necessary. You do the things that's going to help your nucleus. When you have a call to action, we grew up on Ellison Street after we left Hamilton Ave in Paterson, New Jersey. This was a Black and Latino area. As kids, we didn't know no difference between Black and Latino. We marched together, we fought together, we ate together. But somewhere in the mix, our local politicians got together and started selling the political lie. And we've been falling for it. If you're not on my door and ask for my vote, you're going to have my concerns in your mind as well. It's a call to action. If you don't have a registered voting list in your house, register your people. We died for that right. That's your power. That's your power. If you don't like the guy that's in City Hall, vote him out. That's your power. You say my vote don't count. Of course it doesn't. You're not registered. My vote didn't count. No, just a minute. That's a different story. The bottom line is, in order for us to move forward, we must move as a unit. The word unity is powerful. As a fist, we can knock through a wall, but separately we'll break our fingers. We must move in one direction, grow in our community. When I grew up in this city, we owned grocery stores, restaurants, insurance companies, pharmacies, funeral parlors, bars, liquor stores. We own much in the city. I did a survey going around the city. I found not one grocery store that I could find in the city. I think we have 2 restaurants. We don't even own the houses anymore. So this is not a time for a call to action. When is it? Your kids are failing. When they graduate from high school, they can't complete community college because they're doing remedial stuff. That's your future. Those are your seeds. How do we allow this to happen? Well, let's get a little hot up here. So this call to action is about to come to a quick halt. I want to thank you for coming to the 2nd Annual Black Condition Conference. And the reason this was founded, we were going out to churches and we would see people on the streets and we're always talking about we need to get together. We need to do something about our condition. So we figured the only way that we could accomplish that is to get people in one room, like-minded, understanding the issues and having a conversation. Like normal, we don't get here until 12:30, 1 o'clock, but hopefully we'll fill this room. It's glad to talk to you. We will be talking again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rucker, for your fervent and colorful call to action. Save the Village is about progress and representation. From what Mr. Rucker just encouraged us with, we have a special interest in developing and recruiting leaders of all ages, of all backgrounds, to be able to push our community forward, to be able to motivate us to unprecedented heights, and to encourage our young people that it's extended to them as well. Another element of our culture has always been deep-rooted in historical and symbolic meaning with the drums. For being present at most events, whether it be births, deaths, weddings, and so forth, the drums held a symbolic meaning. So we're going to begin with a special tribute from the Stallion Drumline dance drum crew from here at Public School number 6. Reverend Calvin Quince, the founder of this drumline, and the late Rory Quince, also a founder, will present our flag salute and our Negro national anthem.
Come this afternoon, Stallion Drumline Public School number 6, the community of Paterson, New Jersey. We came to send you a message today. These boys, these young black boys, to become men, are standing before you today. We're not here to talk to you. We are here to tell you that we have decided to put down guns and pick up drums. It's simple. So as a symbol going out into the community today, we need you to help us to be sure you introduce yourself to one of these boys today and tell them, whatever help you need, I will help you. We have decided in this drum corps and drum line not to join gangs. We have decided that we are no longer afraid in this community. This is our community, and we're going to take this community back with peace, love, hard work, and unity. So today we pledge, repeat after me, drumline, I, a drummer, of the Stallion Drumline, will no longer look to pick up guns, but to pick up my drum as a weapon of peace, of love, of success, and hard work. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. We come before you to lay down this gun. We're putting this gun under our feet because that's where it belongs. that's where it belongs. Give me a drum roll.
Today we are having our annual second Black Condition Conference here in, well, Paterson specifically, Passaic, and nationally, to highlight the issues affecting the Black community. I don't know about you, but when I turn on the television, I get worried. I see all the advancements we have made in the past being diminished away. We have fringe groups angry at the first Black president, Barack Obama, and an uncooperative Republican Party in the Senate saying he doesn't have a right to appoint a Chief Justice just because it's not them. But let's look at the political arena. My chairman here, okay. Okay, so I guess that's my 1 minute warning from 2 minutes. Okay. The condition is we have failing schools, we have young men being killed in the streets, we have basically no economic power, and we have challenges that affect both young women, seniors, and children. This conference is to bring us together, to have a discussion, and to plan a way forward. So I thank you for coming. We are going to have a very vibrant conference today. The workshops include economic empowerment, Black men's issues, educational outcomes, political accountability, seniors issues, Black women and family issues, and Black youth advocacy. So we thank you for coming. We implore you to participate in these discussions and work with us during the rest of the year to make those improvements. Thank you.
We have a representative out of Newark, New Jersey, Mr. Earl Sadiq, who we're going to just invite to give us a few comments on his behalf. Mr. Earl Sadiq.
Good morning. Could you hear me? Could you hear me now? With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. My name is Earl Sadiq, and I'm out of the great city, your sister city of Newark, New Jersey. I work with the Honorable Mayor Judge Baraka's interfaith clergy group, and we do some wonderful things in Newark. However, I'm not here for that. First of all, I want to thank our beloved brother, Bilal Hakeem, who invited me. We've been working tirelessly in the city of Paterson for, I should say, decades. And this group, Save the Village Black Condition Conference, was a very perceptive title. The Black Condition. Because often more than that, people will write about the Black condition in America, give it a very negative spin. We live on the continent of North America. We all know that. There's about 350 or 360 million people on this continent. We know as African Americans about 40, 45 million, depending on who's writing about it. There are thousands of banks and financial institutions on this great continent. But are you aware that we only have a small minority Black banks? And one of the most preeminent minority banks, the City National Bank. Unfortunately, April the 15th, tax day, they're going to close. They're going to close this particular branch. The headquarters in Newark, New Jersey. Why do you think they're going to close? Because we don't support it. We do not support financial and banking institutions. We're not going anywhere without a financial or banking institution. In Newark, I'm a part of what we call the Council of Imams. An associate of Imam Al-Fuddin Muhammad, the son of that great man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we have set up a partnership with City National Bank. A couple of months ago, we sponsored a history on what is money, how did it come about, and what are we supposed to do with it. But we gave the courses to those who are 7 up to 14. Why? Because that's tomorrow. We should have gave it to the kindergarten. But 7 to 14 is not bad. And I learned a lot of things about it myself. Because what has happened, we have not become acculturated to money. You have to become acculturated to money. They say that as a group we have about $1.5 trillion. Is that a lot of money? Yeah. Relative. Relative. Why am I saying that? In America, this United States, there's 1% of the population who have $46 trillion. 1% of Americans, $46 trillion. 1.5 is a lot of money. But what are we doing with it? We don't invest it. But other people come from all over the world in your community and take the money out. Why? Because we don't have containers. What is a container? When you send your child to the grocery store, you say, get a container of milk. Right? The only way to get that milk out is you pour it out or you drop the container. What am I saying? Mr. Rock was saying earlier. We don't have institutions, stores, businesses to contain our money. So it leaves us. And we wonder why we are considered the welfare people. A terrible nomenclature. The welfare people. But 1.5, that's a lot of money, brothers and sisters. But what is it relevant to? When I first came to Paterson in the early 60s, with Brother Amir Pasha, man, the Imam just died not too long ago, we used to sell the Muhammad Speaks down on Broadway by the market down there and go to the projects and knock doors. There wasn't a lot of immigrants here at that particular time. There was mostly African Americans, Hispanics, and Caucasians. I used to go to New York as a teenager and see and hear the Honorable Minister Malcolm X on the corner of 116th Street and Temple number 7. And I used to drill up there. And I see these young brothers drilling. It brought good things to my heart because drilling, that stuff gives you discipline. But more so than that, they give you discipline to listen and understand a black person like you. That's what the really crux of what was going on. So 50 years has elapsed. 50 years. Great leaders we have lost. But still, with $1.5 trillion, we don't see it. From the Atlantic to the Pacific, from Canada to the Florida Keys, when it comes to African American people, we don't see our goal. Shame. Shame on us. Because if we don't put a hold, put containers back into our community, 40 to 50 years from now, it'll probably be worse. When you ride all up and down Broadway, you see broken human beings, broken men and broken women because mentally they have not adapted. They have not adapted to what's going on, and they don't see a way out. One of the significant ways out is what? Our financial resources. We got to monitor our money, brothers and sisters. You got to take these boys and girls to a bank and let them open up a bank account. You may think this is black talk I'm talking about. Oh no. Because all these great immigrants that we see in our society, they bank. They deal with financial institutions. That's why they're so powerful and great. And they laugh at us. They laugh at us. Why? Because we've not established containers in our community. But whose fault is that? It's our fault. I'm older. I'm 72. There are those in the audience maybe a little older than me. But those who are under the 20s and 30s, you got to get those who are 15 and 10 and 6 and 7 and teach them how to do what? To bank. Save that money. Don't spend it all. If I give you $1, put 50 cents in the bank, spend a quarter, and maybe share some with the rest of the family. That's how other people do it. It's no mystery. It's no magic. It's common sense, but unfortunately, nonsense has supplanted common sense. That's why we have the issues that we have today. I'm wrapping it up. There's a lot of them back here. I'm going to make a point. Mr. Warren Buffett, you heard of him, right? He's a billionaire. He's one of the richest men on the face of the earth. Recently, I see him in the picture in the photograph with Floyd Mayweather. A multi-millionaire. I hope he's doing something for Michigan because that's his hometown, Floyd Mayweather. Here's what Mr. Buffett says. Warren Buffett said, there is class warfare, all right? But it's my class, the rich class, that's making war and we're winning. Don't you think Donald Trump don't represent that mentality? He's just vociferous to come before you and tell you we don't care nothing about poor people. What did he say? I love the uneducated people, the ones who voted for him. The ones who voted for him. But what about the thinking man and woman? How are we going to think? Nobody's going, like the brother said, ain't nobody think of us, and ain't nobody coming to save us. Because when you look at America, you see the man or the woman in the mirror, that's you. You have to command the community like that you want. One of our preeminent social scientists, Brother Dick Gregory said, he said, we don't live in no community. Why did he say that? He said, because when you live in a community, you own and control everything in your community. Do we own that in Paterson, New Jersey? I ask you, what do we? Huh? So we might live in what, a neighborhood, but we done took the prefix off neighborhood, and now there's a hood. But that's not a bad thing. Why? Because the definition of hood is what? A state, a character, a methodology, a way. So we can take those definitions and turn it back around, then we'll be back in our community. Who you think gonna do it? The mayor, he ain't gonna do it. The city council, they ain't gonna do it. You got to do it, beloved brothers and sisters. It gotta be you. Because you are inspired. I know why you're inspired. That's why you're here. You want the change. God will bless you with the spirit to make the change, but you gotta make the change. Time is up, my sister. Thank you very much.
When I was asked to talk a little bit, and they asked me to talk about violence, I thought I would just break it real simple. The 5 W's. What, where, when, why, how, and when. Mr. Webster defines violence, and as some speakers have indicated earlier, the violence in our community is out of order, it's unacceptable. Webster defined violence as that physical force exerted for the purpose of violating, damaging, abusing. Where is this taking place? In our community. In our homes, our schools, our streets, our hangouts, basically wherever we're at. The cause of this violence, and who causes most of this violence, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, mostly our young males, our young men. Why is this happening? Well, I've been thinking about this for years and years, all my years working with young people. And I concluded it is the way that we are raising our children. I always blame Dr. Spock. Dr. Spock is the fellow who said, let the child express himself. If it feels good, it's okay. Do your own thing. We jump right into hippie-dumpy. Crazy. We move away from the whole to the individual. That's against nature. Nowhere in nature do you find the individual more significant than the whole. The whole fist is more significant than any part of it. The whole family is more significant than any one person in it. Following Dr. Spock, we move away from the whole and we concentrate on the individual. Do your own thing. That's against nature. And so now we have young people, we have folks that are being developed, but they believe that they should be able to do whatever they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want to do it, irregardless of the consequences to the whole. We have a situation. When I first started working with young people, 1972, the concern that we had for our young was their lack of respect for authority, their lack of respect for order, little things. But today, and now I say for the last 20 years, you know, the real concern that I have for our young people is their lack of respect for life. I'm telling you, do not respect life. No kind of life. And we're at that situation. That's why it's so easy to off somebody. There's no respect for life. We have to flip that around. It's interesting. I was watching TV one night some years ago, and if I hadn't seen this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Dr. Spock was on. What he said, Dr. Spock said, I made a mistake. I was wrong. So we have to raise children. You see the way it goes from 0 to 18, it's your call, parent. You have to direct them and raise them. It's your call. Now, at 18, it becomes their call in their own place. We have to raise them. We have to teach them. We have to transfer this knowledge. And you know, our young people, especially our men, not being raised. Why? Because father's not there. Fathers, go home. Get back there. You have to be with your child. If you got a child, you got to be there to help raise it, especially the boys. You see, mothers been doing a terrific job for 100 years, but mothers love their sons, but raise their daughters. Fathers, we're just the opposite. We love our daughters, but raise our sons. In our community, the father's not there. So the son loved to death, but never raised. In my work with juveniles, I had real rugged, tough males and females. But time and time again, the female, by the time they get to about 18, 19, 20, they're pulling it together. They're doing something. But you know, I hit Graham Ave, 10th Ave, and I still see the brother, the young boy, still on that corner. Still there. Why? Still been loved to death, not raised. I'll just tell you a quick example. The last case I had before I retired, this mother, she had 4 boys, 1 girl. Boys was always in trouble, school, in court, and everywhere. The girl, she was pretty straight, but usually you don't hear from her. She's doing what she's supposed to do. So at home, go to the home and talk with mom. Okay, we got to put up some kind of structure, you know, because I learned that the more out of order the kid is, the tougher, the rougher they are, the more they respond to structure. So the rougher they are, the more structure I throw at them to help out. So anyway, we talk about the behaviors of the boys at home with mom. And she spent all the time telling me, explaining to me why the boy's messing up. Every kind of excuse why the boy's messing up. His father not here, he there, he not this, he not there. Everybody's fault, except the boy. So I was in the home, going to organize the family. So one of the things is that everybody had to have responsibilities. So everybody in the house should be doing something to benefit the family. Chores. Okay, so we establishing the list. So I asked Mom, okay, what's the chores for the boys? She told me, well, they got to take out the garbage. All four of them? Yeah, they got to take out the garbage, all four of them. The garbage 2 days a week. You know, they got to take out the garbage. All four of them, that's it. That's their responsibility. What's her responsibility? Scrubbing the floors, sweeping the floors, washing dishes, ironing, helping with cook. I mean, on and on and on. But the boys got, that's their only responsibility? And the girl got to do all that? One day I got a call from the school. The girl had made a transgression. I think she talked back to a teacher or something. Somehow she was snippy, but she was disrespectful in a way to the teacher. So the teacher called me. So, and I reported that to Mom, what had happened. I was coming to the house and we're going to sit down and see what we can do about it. But I tell Mom what happened. She said, what? Oh no, I'll take care of that heifer right now. She's gonna, I don't know what she's gonna do to the girl, but she's gonna take care of her. But the boy, she's gonna give me excuses why this boy is not doing what she said. So mothers love their sons, but raise their daughters. No, Dad, you gotta get home. And we got to be part of that. The boy is not ready. When I run into him, I meet him on the street, you know, and they're all this anger. You know what? They're so angry because everybody's telling them something different. Nobody's telling them the same thing. And so, and us adults, so they just shut off to us because why? Everybody's saying something different, so they don't want to listen to nobody. No, we got to get it together, and we got to begin to make them accountable for their actions. Now, position that we all can take. See, I can't tell you what to do necessarily, or make you, but I can tell you what's legal and what's not. And if you're doing something that's illegal, it's illegal. There are consequences for that. I'm not going to hide it. So we end up allowing people to do things that are not good for us and not legal. But we don't say anything. It keeps going. And they get bolder and bolder and bolder. So folks, we have to get there. We have to do a little bit with that. Now, how do we change that? I say, Father, get back home. And we have to, where do we start? Who do we start with? We start now, but we start with, we got to get to the younger generation. We got to get the generation now, because we got to get them and teach them the way to go. Yeah, we got to continue with our ones a little bit older. We got to continue working with them, but you can't make them do anything. We lose the ability to make our children do what we want them to do. Today it's about 6 or 7. There was a time you could make your child do what you want them to do to 21. I often say, my mother, before she died, I mean now I'm 50-some years old, she's still making me do stuff. But that don't happen today. You know, so parents have to take a role. And remember, parents, bring them to 18, guide them to 18. They don't have a right to do what they want to do, what they think they should do. It's what you think they should do.
That's right.
And we need to have some meetings. We need to discuss that. There are some ways and some things we could do to improve on this. But the violence is out of order. It's just like in the schools. I say the number one deterrent to academic achievement is behavior. Behavior from kindergarten to 12th grade is out of order. All you have to do is walk into schools and check it out. In the kindergarten, it's out of order. So we've got to get behavior under control. We've got to give the teachers a chance to teach because they're spending all their time. Everybody can't manage behavior. They don't teach it in college. I often say, all my years in school, around school, involved with school, I came across two teachers that could manage any type of behavior. And I say most of us recognize the name, Ms. Van Rensselaer, and the second person, this little short man, was a teacher, Mr. Walcott Brennan. Any type of behavior, right? But everybody can't do that. And so we have to give the teachers a chance to teach. There's a big case for us men, get home, get involved, and to help bring our kids, raise our kids into individuals that can do the kinds of things that the gentleman before me was just talking about. We have it. I don't want to take all your time, but there are some things we can do in the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lee, for your sound words and encouragement, all of your expertise and your experience throughout the city and throughout your lifetime here. Gives us a snapshot on techniques and strategies that we can employ to redefining the roles within a family, how we rear our children, and the things that we pass down to them to equip them to be strong and progressive change agents for this time, for this season. We're going to move forward with a quick rendition from this New Jersey State Gospel Group of Oh Happy Day, and then we'll move forward with the remainder of our program. Welcome them, please.
Oh, happy day when Jesus was. When Jesus was. Oh, when he was. When Jesus was. Oh, when he was. When Jesus was. Sins away. Happy day. Oh, happy day.
our next speaker, and immediately following him, we will have continue with our program. Ms. Janet McDaniel.
Good afternoon, Paterson. I will be very brief, despite the fact that our speaker, I could go on and on for days and days. Mr. Ham is a political and community activist. He leads an organization called the People's Organization for Progress. On his bio, he could be listed, should be listed as the youngest elected public official. I believe he was still in high school when he was elected to the school board in Newark. Mr. Ham has been a particular friend to the Paterson community as he kicked off our 7-day Kwanzaa event both in 2014 and 2015. As I said, I could go on and on, but you get the picture, and he will give you more information. Please help me in welcoming Larry Ham.
Power to the people. Brothers and sisters, I'm so glad to be here with you this afternoon for this conference on the Black condition. And I think we need to give the organizers of this conference a big round of applause for having this conference this February, this Black History Month. Brothers and sisters, I've been told that I have 15 minutes. It is 12:40. I will sit down at 12:55. It would be folly to try and address the Black condition in 15 minutes. So what can I say to you in 15 minutes that would be of some value, that could have an impact on our condition here in Paterson, in New Jersey, and in the United States of America? There's much to be said, and I want to say without hesitation and unequivocally that I agree with all the recommendations and suggestions that have been given to you by the speakers that have preceded me. I don't want to be redundant. I don't want to repeat anything that has already been said. So let me say this. In approximately 107 days, we will have the primary election for President of the United States here in New Jersey, and in approximately 100 days after that, we will have the election for President of the United States. I don't know about you, but I'll speak for those and those who work with me. We cannot have a Republican victory in the contest for President of the United States. I know that this is a nonpartisan event, but I'm 62 years now. I can collect Social Security. I am officially a senior citizen. So I'm going to say what I think, and I don't care what anybody thinks about that. What has been evolving over the past 10 years or more
has been an attempt to set up a right-wing dictatorship in the United States of America. Now, in 2008, we did what many of us thought might be impossible. I know everybody in here loves President Barack Obama, but if the truth be told, maybe half of you in here didn't think it would be possible to elect him when he declared in November of 2007. You didn't think a black man could be elected, and you didn't think a black man with a Muslim name could be elected. But our people went to the polls in record numbers, and today we have an African-American president of the United States of America. What seemed to be impossible, we made possible because we broke down the most important barriers of all. Do you know what the most important barriers are? The barriers that circumscribe your imagination. Because before any great deed is accomplished, the most important thing to have is a vision. Before you can achieve it, you must believe it. So, while we were engaged in that great work of putting in place the first African-American president, our adversaries, even our enemies, and I have to use this word, I can't soft pedal anything to you. There are enemies of black progress occupying the highest positions of power in the United States of America. And they are dedicated to, in fact, keep us oppressed and poor and powerless. And while we were focused on the White House, they were focused on the Senate and House of Representatives. And by the second year of the president's first term, they controlled the House, and by the second year of his second term, they controlled the Senate. Now, there are only three branches of government: the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. For 40 years, they had been engaged in an effort to transform the Warren Supreme Court, which had been a fairly liberal court, into a conservative court. In 1968, it was a fairly liberal court. But what happened in 68? We had the assassination of Martin Luther King, and then following that in November, we had the election of Richard Nixon. And what did Richard Nixon do? He made conservative appointments to the Supreme Court. And following him was Ronald Reagan, and what did Ronald Reagan do? He made conservative appointments to the Supreme Court. And following him was George Bush I, and what did he do? He made conservative appointments to the Supreme Court. And following him was George Bush II. And what did he do? He completed the transformation with his appointment with 5 conservatives and 4 liberals to the Supreme Court. So by the second year of President Obama's second term, the right-wing Republicans control the judiciary and they control the legislature. And now they are organizing to complete their political coup, because that's what it is. It is a political coup by trying to take the White House in November. Our people died for the right to vote. Our people paid keep us from the polls in November. We must stop this right-wing coup that's going on in the United States of America. Now, what does this mean? This means that when you complete this convocation here today, that you have work to do when you exit those doors. We have to turn every church, every school, every barbershop, every beauty salon, every laundromat, every bodega, and every street corner into a voter registration station and register hundreds of thousands of our people to vote. Because, brothers and sisters, the black condition is not going to be changed in 100 days. Carroll Street is going to still be Carroll Street in November. But who will sit in the White House can be changed. And it's up to us to do that. And we can't do this amorphously. And we can't do it haphazardly. And we can't do it casually. We must set goals. We must, if you don't do anything else today, agree on a number. I don't care if the number is 100 or 1,000 or 5,000, but agree on a number of the people that you are going to register and vote, and then meet once a month to monitor your progress, so by June the 7th, we have more voters on the rolls than we have today, this day, February 27th, 2016. We need measurable progress. That's right, we need people's power, poder popular. And that power, one of the ways, it's not the only way, but one of the ways that power is made manifest is by us going out and registering our people to vote. And then it's not enough to register them. We must get them to the polls on June 7th and get them to the polls in November. And that requires what? It requires organization. Now, a lot of you during Black History Month, you reflect upon one of the greatest achievements of the contemporary civil rights struggle, and that was the Montgomery bus boycott. Why was the Montgomery bus boycott successful? It was successful because the people organized their own alternative transportation system. They carpooled. They used black taxi cabs. Anybody that had any kind of a vehicle, be it a pickup truck or whatever, would take people to and from work. So, not only must we put in place organization to register our people, we must put in place organization to get our people to the polls on Election Day in June and on Election Day in November. There can be no excuses. The time for excuses in regard to these matters is over. What is the excuse? When we have technology at our fingertips that our forebears couldn't even dream of. In Montgomery, the only thing they had was a hand-cranked Minio machine. That's the only thing they had. And them sisters the night before cranked out 50,000 leaflets and got people to the church and got people to the meetings. Today, we have cell phones and smartphones and high-speed copiers and social media and Facebook and Instagram. We can communicate with each other in a fraction of a second. There is no excuse for people sitting home on election day. No excuse whatsoever. And we have to put together the organization to get them to the polls. This is the immediate task that faces us. Yes, our long-range goals are the resolutions of those problems that face us in our communities. But we must deal with the practical, and the practical task before us right now is the registration of enough people so that we can stop the right-wing juggernaut. These people are crazy. They want to take us back. They don't want to take us back to 64, to 65, to Brown versus Topeka in 54. They want to take us back to Jim Crow to 1896. I don't know about you. I am not going back without a fight. I'm going to fight them tooth and nail. I'm going to fight them for every inch of ground. I can't sit still. I can't be quiet. We paid too much, gave too much, bled too much. I'm not going back without a fight. And you shouldn't go back without a fight either. And I know how some of you, because I feel the same way about this corrupt political system. I know our votes don't mean as much as they should mean. And I know we don't get out of politics what we should get out of it. But this is like a military operation. When you fight in war, there is no fight in warfare where you don't lose troops. The person who wins is the person who has the most troops left. This is like, well, we are making a strategic decision here. No, the election is not going to magically transform the black condition. But you and I know that the composition of that Supreme Court will affect affirmative action. Right now, they are arguing an affirmative action case. We know it will affect the ability of unions to unionize. Right now, before the Supreme Court is a case that will affect the ability of unions to deduct union dues from the people that they represent. Right now, before the Supreme Court, there are cases involving women's reproductive rights and civil rights, and on and on and on. So I say to you, brothers and sisters, our practical goal is voter registration and mobilization. But let us also have aspirational goals. If I don't say anything else to you tonight, or today or this afternoon, I tell you this, that the black condition will not be transformed unless we transform this racist, capitalist, imperialist social system that we live in. And if I told you less than that, I would not be true to Dr. King, and I would not be true to Malcolm X, and I would not be true to Frederick Douglass. We need to have a social system. Why should parents have to mortgage their homes 2 and 3 times to send their children to school? College should be free of charge in the United States of America. Why should people hesitate to go and see a doctor or a dentist because they don't have money or health insurance? We should have universal health care, just like Canada, our next door neighbor, has universal health care. Why must there be 23 million unemployed and underemployed people in the United States? We need a national jobs program just like they had during the Depression that put 11 million people back to work in 36 months. Why must there be a school-to-prison pipeline that incarcerates our brothers and sisters? Even if I was a good father and I was in the house every day, if I don't have enough money, if I don't have money to support my family, how much good does it do? It does good. But we must have not a minimum wage, we must have a living wage in the United States of America. So we need structural change and foundational change. So let's get to work, brothers and sisters. Power to the people.
Provocative. Give Mr. Lawrence Camp another round of applause. There aren't too many speakers that can captivate an audience in the way that he did and motivate us to want to get involved, motivate us to want to change. We're so excited about the environment that we're creating here. With each speaker, the energy increases. The vibes increase, and we're looking forward to each speaker. We're going to go into another segment where we're going to have 2 speakers come to us, and we're asking that each speaker give us a riveting 5 minutes each so that we can have a chance to get into our workshops and to allow those administrators and the workers and the organizers to get involved and to speak to their groups. So without further ado, the next speaker that we're going to introduce is Hashim Garrett. He's the founder and the CEO of a consulting company, Wisdom and Understanding LLC. His passionate message in educating the causes of conflict and emphasizing the importance of forgiveness as a part of the solution. Please help me welcome Mr. Hashim Garrett.
Please give Brother Ham another round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Ham. Thank you, sir. It is my pleasure and my honor to be able to share the stage and follow such a great man. When I saw his name on the flyer and I saw my name next to him, I said, I'm doing something right. I want to say thank you to this entire organization. I want to say thank you to Mr. Moody and all of the great work that he's done here in Paterson for many years, to Dr. Fillmore's and to all of the great people, the McCoys. But my time is short, so let me introduce myself. My name is Hashim Garrett. I am a motivational speaker. I've been in this line of work for nearly 20 years. The reason why you see me walking with the crutches and the braces is that when I was 15 years old, I was shot 6 times. One of those bullets struck me in my spine, the other 5 bullets went into my legs, and as a result, I sustained a spinal cord injury. Now, the events that led up to it was definitely a lot of poor decision making on my behalf, hanging out with the wrong crowd, not listening to the people in my community, whether it was my family members or it was people in my school who was constantly telling me, listen, you're headed in the wrong direction and we're worried about you. So very quickly, I want to just tell you my narrative about what happened to me. I was 15 years old. I was in my home one evening. It was about 7:30 in the evening, and some friends of mine who my mother really didn't like, they knocked on my door. They asked me to come outside. I was supposed to be moving in about 4 days, and my so-called friends beckoned me to come outside. I come outside with them, and little did I know that they actually had a plot and a plan to have me murdered. And so we walk up to a corner. This was in Brooklyn, New York, where I was living at that time. And I go up to this corner with these so-called friends of mine, and before I know it, a kid had walked past me. No words exchanged, not a rival gang or anything of that nature. And this kid walks past, and all of a sudden, one of my so-called friends who didn't go into the store, who didn't go across the street that evening, I hear this so-called friend of mine yell, and he goes, look out, run. And when I take off and I start running, something inside says I should peek to see what I'm running from. And when I looked over my shoulder, I saw the kid who walked past me standing behind me with this submachine gun. As I continued to run, I'll never forget, I'm looking down at my jeans and I'm wondering, why are my jeans making this odd movement? And then all of a sudden, something hard struck me in my back. The odd movements my jeans were making with bullets going through my legs, and the odd feeling I felt in my back with a bullet striking me in my spine. So again, at the age of 15, I was shot and paralyzed, and I remember hitting the ground and calling out to my so-called friends and saying, yo, I got hit, and I couldn't move, and 1 or 2 of them came back and they tried to help me, but to no avail. I had been paralyzed, and they left. And as I remember laying on the ground, I remember looking up in the sky and going, God, please don't let me die. As soon as the words left my tongue, I felt the peace come over me. And if I never believed or conceived and thought that there was a God, I felt it in the moment when I said, God, please don't let me die. And I felt the peace come over me. And I waited for about a half an hour, and I'm bleeding profusely out of multiple holes. And finally people from my neighborhood came out and I could hear them and they were saying, oh my gosh, he got shot. And when I would open my eyes up again, the police were there, they had the tape, and I remember laying on the ground for a few minutes, and the one thing that kept running through my mind was, I hope I don't die in a corner like this by myself. I remember thinking to myself, I hope that I get a chance to feel my mother's soft hands one more time. And I will tell you this, the scariest part about laying on the ground dying is that I secretly really wanted somebody to cross that tape and just hold me, because I didn't want to die with everybody looking at me like that. It was a scary and lonely feeling. And finally, the EMS workers arrived, and I'm telling them, listen, I can't move. And they said, don't worry, you're going to be okay. And next thing you know, I'm telling them, listen, I'm having a hard time catching my breath. They said, don't worry, I'm going to give you some oxygen. And I'm 15 years old. I'm in bad shape. And again, as I lay on that ground, bleeding out of multiple holes, the only person that I could think about was my mother. So the EMS workers are transporting me into the back of the ambulance. And as they are closing the doors, I'll never forget, I look at them close the doors, and I happen to take a glance, and I noticed they had removed my sneakers. And when I looked down, I noticed I had brand new white socks on, and the first thing that popped into my mind when I saw these socks was, my mother's going to be proud of me because I got clean socks on. My mother is and was a stickler for wear clean underwear, wear clean socks, if you never know what's going to happen to you. So when I saw those socks, I said, yeah, mommy's going to be proud. And now the ambulance, the EMS worker closes the door, they rush me to the hospital, and there was a young white EMS worker, and he kept yelling at me, and he was saying, listen, I need you to stay with me, don't go to sleep, I'm going to ask you some questions. And every now and then he would say, you know, how old, what grade, and I was so tired, and I had the mask and oxygen on my face, and as I'm going to sleep, I hear the EMS worker, and he's beginning to yell, and he's starting to say, I'm losing him, I can't get his BP, I'm losing him. I had no idea what BP stood for. But all of a sudden, as he's yelling that he's losing me, then I can hear my voice, and my voice begins to go, I should have been a better person, I should have been a better person, I should have been a better person. And in a split second, I felt my soul float out my body. When my soul detached from my body, I felt the fear come over me that I can't even truly put into words. And my soul begins to descend, and I can see my body in the ambulance, I can see the EMS work, I can see all of the equipment in the ambulance, and my soul is going down, and now I can see the bottom of the ambulance, I can literally see the tar, I can see the dirt, and my soul is going to this dark place. And all of a sudden my soul stopped, and when I looked to my left, it was a long dark tunnel. I turned and looked to my right, it was a long dark tunnel, but right in front of me, this dark scary room with these two doors. And something was telling my soul, go towards the doors. And as I got closer and closer towards the doors, all of a sudden, as I'm trying to figure out which door to go towards, I hear my mother's voice, and she goes, I told him to take out the garbage, I told him to wash the dishes, I told him to take the movies back, I told him to do this. And with my last little bit of breath, I just remember thinking, Mom, be quiet, I'm trying to go to sleep. And as soon as I remember thinking it, all of a sudden my soul goes back into my body. This young white EMS worker goes, I got him, keep yelling at him, keep yelling at him. And I tell students all over the world, had my mother not been in the front of that ambulance to do what only mothers can do best, which is nagging us, oh, I wouldn't be here today without my mother's nagging voice. So, now I didn't travel here this morning to just tell you my narrative about how I got shot and how my mother's nagging voice is part of the reason why I'm here. I came here to tell you this afternoon. I lay in the hospital for 6 months, and I contemplated wanting to kill this kid. And I thought about revenge, and I thought about it so hard that when the police finally caught him, which I was surprised that people in my neighborhood actually said something, but when they caught him, I was so angry and I was so consumed with revenge, I lied to the detectives and told them, nah, I don't know what you're talking about, and no, I'm not going to court, I'm not testifying. And I lied to them and said, that's not the kid. They let him go, and within a few weeks, he went and shot and paralyzed somebody else in my neighborhood. But I'm not here to tell you that part. I'm here to tell you this part. As I went through those phases of grief because I had lost my legs, I remember laying in the hospital saying, you know, why God? Why me? Why did you allow me to, you know, go through this? Why am I paralyzed? I knew some other kids in my neighborhood, Junebug and Pookie and Raheem and all of them, they was worse than me. Why I gotta get paralyzed? And I lay in that hospital. My mother said, oh, Hashem, you need to read the Bible. And in my mind, when she gave me the book, I was like, oh, you crazy, Mom, paralyzed. But I didn't say it. It was in my mind. and I began to flip through the pages because I was in hospital for 6 months, and I began to flip through the pages, and I came across this F word. I came across this F word, and the F word was forgiveness. 15 years old, I read it, and I said, you know what, maybe I need to forgive this kid for what he did to me. And then once I started to go down that path of forgiveness, I realized, you know what, not only did I need to forgive that kid, I needed to forgive my mother and father for separating. I needed to forgive my mother's drunken boyfriend who used to beat on her that made me turn out to be this crazy little kid in my neighborhood. I needed to forgive the kids who were bullying me, and I needed to forgive and forgive. And then when I went through forgiving all of those people, where the rubber really met the road was when I looked in the mirror, I had to forgive myself. Because I was the true culprit of why I was paralyzed. So when I go into schools, and I'm a motivational speaker, I own my own company, I travel all over the world doing lectures. Last year I spoke to 100,000 students just here in America. And the one thing that I'm constantly sharing with students is you have to learn how to forgive. And it's not just about forgiving your classmates. At the core, I need them to learn how to forgive their parents. You know, I want you to realize I go into suburban schools, I'm in inner city schools, and the thing I notice that's different about inner city schools and suburban schools is this. If a kid in a suburban school, for an example, they commit suicide, right? If they commit suicide the next day in that suburban school is kind of, just classes and academics are not that important the next day because they know that the kids are grieving. The difference in inner city schools is this. When a kid is murdered in an inner city and they all come with their t-shirts and they all are grieving, the teachers don't allow them to grieve. The next day when a kid comes and he goes, yeah, my cousin got killed, the next day they have to continue to go to classes as if nothing happened. You know, I want you to realize the students in the inner city are dealing with a lot of trauma and they don't know how to cope with it. And unfortunately, Ms. McCoy is standing up, so I know I have about 60 more seconds, so I'm going to rush through this, Tiffany. But I want you to understand that when our students go to school, they are dealing with so much. You know, it takes 2 people to make a baby, it takes 2 people to raise a baby. So when that child is growing up without a daddy in the home, or maybe that child is growing up and they don't have a mommy because they're in foster care, that's trauma at an early level. And then when that kid has to walk past kids that are bullying them and they have to deal with all of the drug addiction and all of the violence, our students, our kids are so traumatized, but we look at them and go, you're from the hood and deal with it. And our babies are suffering. And they need to learn how to cope. And so when I go into schools, I come and I tell the superintendent, when Dr. Fillmore was the superintendent, I would go, listen, instead of giving them the 3 R's for the next 4 days, let me come in through their health classes and let me teach them about what causes murders. There are 3 things I want all of you to know that play a role in murders, according to Harvard University. See, we teach kids about what causes AIDS. We know it's sexually transmitted. We know having unprotected sex. We know sharing needles. But for our young black males, homicide, murders is the #1 reason why young blacks die. But young black males don't know what causes murders. Here are the 3 things I need you to remember. The #1 thing, according to Harvard University, is arguments. Arguments play a role. They precipitate murders. Why does one kid want to kill another? Why does mommy kill daddy? Why does a boyfriend kill a girlfriend? Usually prior to the murder, there was an argument. We have to learn how to resolve conflicts. I'm not saying we have to learn how to stop arguing, but we need to learn how to resolve conflicts. When you learn how to resolve conflicts, you're going to have to use that F word, forgive. Because somebody's going to say something in the midst of that argument to really make you feel small and really make you want to hurt them. And I want you to forgive them so that you don't do something that's going to harm you. They say forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. So I didn't forgive this kid for shooting me 6 times so he could have a better life. I forgave him so I could move on from it. So you have arguments plays a role in murders. Weapons. Everyone has access to weapons, whether it is a knife, whether it is a gun. I want you to realize, young people, if you have a gun, guns are not for protection, they are for killing. If you have a gun, it's going to give you a false sense of power and a false sense of protection. Remember this, if you have a gun, it may take you 1 second to pull that trigger, but that 1 second may cause you the rest of your natural life in jail. And last but not least, I need you to all be mindful, stay away from alcohol, stay away from drugs, the pills, all these things, they affect with your decision making. You will make poor decisions when you are under the influence of alcohol and other drugs. So it is arguments, it is alcohol, it is weapons, and at the core, if all of you young people, if you're dealing with something, and I know that you are, you have to find a mentor. Find someone that you can open up to and tell them what you're going through. I don't want you to wait till you're in the principal's office after you've already beat up a kid and then tell the principal, you don't understand what I'm dealing with. I need you to talk to the principal before you beat up the kid. Talk to them about what you're going through. Tell them about how difficult home life is. Don't wait until you beat up the kid and then want to have that watershed moment. Talk with them. You have positive people in your life, but they don't know what you're going through unless you say something. Thank you very much for your time.
Golden tokens to take away from today. As I said before, the speakers keep getting better, and don't you agree? They keep getting better and better with every moment. I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge a few people that we have here with us today. Our former mayor, Jeffrey Jones, is in the house. We want to give him a round of applause. We'd like to also acknowledge the council members that are here today, Councilman McCoy, Councilman Jackson, Councilwoman Ruby Cotton, I saw her earlier. We just want to thank you for your support and your attendance on today. We're going to move forward with a speaker that is coming to us from Harlem, New York. We went to Newark, we're right here in Paterson, and now we're going over the JWB to Harlem, and we are going to invite Daruba bin Wahab to come and give us comments and his presentation in the form of 5 invigorating minutes. Mr. Daruba bin Wahab, thank you.
Greetings, people. I don't have much time because I detoured here at the invitation of some brothers and sisters in Paterson, New Jersey. Previously, y'all, and I was privy and privileged to listen to Brother Larry Ham emphasize why it is important for us to become politically engaged in this particular period. Brothers and sisters, we are living in a crisis situation here. We are living in the crisis of capitalism. And that crisis of capitalism has led to a consolidation of right-wing racist power and influence. And it is one thing to register the vote, but it's another thing to register the vote for people who are your enemies. We need to understand that voting in the Republican or Democratic Party, voting for either one of them is voting, like Malcolm used to say, one is a wolf and one is a fox, but both are dogs, both are canines. So we need to understand that the interest of the African community, the interest of the black community, is to forge an independent political power, an independent political influence. We need to make our leaders accountable to us, not to the people who exploit us, who use us, and who dominate us. So we need independent political power in Paterson, New Jersey. We need independent political influence in Washington, D.C. And in order to do that, we have to create our own political paradigms of power in our communities. And one of the things I want to say, because I have to go right now, is that we don't need reform of the criminal justice system. We don't need reform of the welfare system. We don't need reform of the healthcare system. We need their abolishment as they're presently constituted and their reconstruction in the interest of people of African descent and the poor people in this country. So what we need is a new abolitionist movement. We don't need reforms. We need to be abolitionists like Frederick Douglass. We need to be abolitionists like Sojourner Truth. We need to be abolitionists, not reformers. So I want to say independent political power, power to the people, and let's get out here and stop this paradigm of right-wing racist consolidation that's going on right before us now. Thank you.
I'm grateful that we were able to have this great attendance, and as we conclude our conversations and our motivation for today, we are going to do that by introducing to you a dynamic speaker, representative of the community on a Senate level. We are going to invite at this time Councilwoman Ruby Cotton along with Council President Bill McCoy to introduce our speaker for this evening.
It is indeed an honor. Thank you, Council President, for standing here with me. But it's indeed an honor to have Senator Ronald Rice with us this afternoon to give us a speech. But I just want to read a few little things about Senator Rice so you can kind of understand. Senator Ronald Rice, who is one of the senior ranking senators in the state of New Jersey, was first elected to New Jersey State Senate 28th Legislative District by a special election on November 18, 1986. Filling the unexpired term of the late John B. Caulfield. He was sworn into office on December 4, 1986. The senator has since been re-elected 7 additional terms in 1987, 1991, 1993, 1997, 2001, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2013. The senator is best known for the fight for the rights of people. He is unbossed. He has refused to be controlled by individuals and special interest groups who simply wants to be a rubber stamp, which he is not. He wants to control his own destiny. Prior to him being a senator, Senator Rice was elected to the Newark Municipal Council. He was the first African American to ever hold a city Northwest Ward's council seat. Furthermore, Senator Rice, before he became an elected official, he was a police officer. And he served on the police department, the Newark Police Department in 1972, and served as a detective until he resigned in 1980. Senator Rice has presently served as Vice Chair of the Senate Community and Urban Affairs Committee, member of the Health and Human Services Committee and Senior Citizen Committee, co-chair of the Joint Committee on Public Education, and co-chair of the Joint Committee on Economic Justice and Equal Opportunity. Senator Rice is one of the senior ranking state senators in New Jersey. Over the years, he has fought and sponsored legislation supporting literally what millions of dollars into his district that was needed by the local government to keep taxes down for working people, for homeowners, for legislative needed to continue programs for our children. He is a fighter for our community. He's a fighter. And I can say on July 1st, in 2002, Honorable Sharp James, Mayor of the City of Newark, honored the senator by appointing him deputy mayor. And I would just like to say that, and he'll probably talk about it, but Senator Rice right now is the only black male sitting in the New Jersey State Senate seat in the state of New Jersey. We have 4 only elected officials in the state of New Jersey for the Senate, and 3 are females and 1 is a male. And let me tell you, when Senator Rice summoned black elected officials to show up somewhere, you show up. Because what he has to tell you is important, because if we're going to stick together and stay together, he is our leader, he's our elder, and we have to make sure that we stick together. And I have here now Senator Rice.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Let me say it's good to be here in Paterson. Paterson is not a strange place for me. I want to first of all acknowledge my colleagues, Council President McCoy and Councilwoman Cotton, the other council person who are here. But I have a long-standing history and distance relationship with Paterson. I was here, and I was so glad to see her. I don't know if she's in the room right now, but I started years ago with Merle Jackson and Councilman Cotton at the time, the other side, Ruby, and others, you know, Councilwoman Ames and others with Donald Tucker. In fact, I remember sitting there in public house on the floor when black folk was talking about how to get control of their destiny and how to insist that government allow everybody to be included in the process. And that's many years ago. And so I'm happy to be here. You know, I happen to know that some of the politics of Paterson. I understand it. I understand some of the relationships. And let me say to you that they are no different than any place else you go to where you have African American and immigrant population and culturally disadvantaged whites, which means poor people who are struggling and middle class who are being stretched too far. And government is not very good at helping us, and that's our problem. And I'm going to give you a little history because this is Black History Month, but I think that every day should be Black History Day for all of us. Okay? Not only Black History Day for all of us, it should be Black History Day for people like the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas too. And people like others who have been in power, because the one thing that God did when he made us black, he made them black too. They just don't know it. And so they need to, thank God, because the opportunities they have is not the opportunities because, of their philosophy. It's the opportunity because God made them black, and white folks knew that they needed some black folks that could be up to Tom, that could put them in those positions. So they benefited, from being black, and they should celebrate Black History Day, even though their job is to suppress us and hold us back. So I need to say that to you, so you don't have to say anybody said it but me, and I'm sure that Mr. Tom is not going to come and talk to me about my statements. I also want to say that it's important that we talk, because I see young people here. And one of the things that disturbed me the most is what's been happening to black leadership throughout the country, but in New Jersey particularly the years that I've been involved with politics. I served as the councilman in the city of Newark for 16 years. I was the first black to be elected councilman of the West Ward in the city. I took out a long-span person who said they say he couldn't be beaten. That was Michael Patone, God bless his soul. My party put me off the Democratic Party line 3 times, so I beat Sharp James, the county executive Democratic Party, and everybody else, the labor unions, all 3 times. And interesting enough, everybody's gone, some have died, some went to jail, some sticking around, worrying about me. And I've been in the state legislature for 30 years, and I watch them come and go. And so when it comes to our people, it becomes clear to me that I have one mission, and that's to be the voice of all people, but have a special agenda for African American and black people given our history of struggle. And I say on the floor of the Senate, and I tell on the floor of the Senate that I'm never going to be ashamed, and black people and black elected officials and black clergy should not be ashamed of identifying who you are and what you represent. Italians and Irish are not, ashamed of saying it. I can assure you that my good friend and Senate colleague, Loretta Weinberg, is not ashamed to tell you about the Holocaust and our history of struggle for the Jews. So why are we so ashamed and bury our faces when we have to sing out what bothers us? It bothers me. We live in communities today that are very diverse. They were very diverse back in the old days. It's just that the diversity of those communities are changing right now. It's no longer the Irish, the Italians, the Latinos, and blacks. It's blacks, Latinos, Asians, and other immigrant populations. Our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, our brothers and sisters from Haiti, our brothers and sisters from the continent. So it's a whole different kind of diversity, and government looks at it differently. They're constantly suppressing. There's a problem, the problem that I always tell people that we're being black. I say, because people say, what is wrong with the black community? They try to give the impression that we can't lead and represent you. They try to give the impression that we don't know what we're talking about. But I remind them that there's a history of struggle that got us where we are today. And that history of struggle has made us, better than most folks when it comes to the ability and skill sets. They talk about athletics, but we talk about knowledge and academics. When they said we'll never have a black president, then somebody above us said that we're going to show you that's wrong, you're wrong in that notion. We had President Obama, and he's the best president around if you want to really lay it out there and look at the record. But for the young people, there's a history that they're not teaching you in schools, in most schools, that should teach you. It's the black history. And that black history should be just as important, if not more important, than the history of America, the history of the revolutions and all those other kinds of histories they give us. Because if in fact, we had come to this country like everybody else, I believe things would be different. And so what am I talking about? People ask me all the time, they say, well, what's wrong with the black community? We don't get your folk, they gangbanging, they shooting each other. But first of all, we don't get your folk. Because you keep holding us back. Because of what we do, we get held back. And I really believe the reason for that, Councilman Court, is because of this whole slave mentality. Yeah. There's something about coming from slavery in this country. I really believe, had we come to Ellis Island like everybody else, things would not be the same today. Immigrants come to this country, they come from very poor countries, they come here very poor, but they grow. Eventually people start putting it down and give them opportunities, they take advantage of opportunities and they grow. I'm a Vietnam veteran, 3rd Marine Corps Recon. I was out there snooping and pooping and fighting folk, and then when I got back here, a lot of the Vietnamese came on boats and ships, went straight to Livingston and Short Hills, New Jersey. They were poor, families helped them grow, and they're doing very well today. But coming from a slave mentality, even our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and those come from the continent, a lot of them grow a lot quicker than black folk who were actually raised in this country that come from a slave history ancestry. And I really believe that that mentality is passed on generation after generation, whether intentional or not, for some reason when they read about slaves in this country. But the interesting thing about slavery in this country that they're not teaching the young people, and this is how I know we can all get along. And this is how I know that we're being suppressed by white political leaders, political bosses, and sold out by black folk and others. Because the indentured servitude came before slavery. Now I'm talking permanent slavery. Indentured servitude is a form of slavery, but a little bit more liberal. Because what happened was, when this country was founded, white folks came here and they staked out the land. And they became farmers and agricultural type people, but they needed somebody to work the land, so they sent letters over to Europe and say, look, we're looking for workers. So we're gonna help you. If you come and work for us, we'll give you a contract from 5 to maybe 7 to 10 years. And you sharecrop the land, work the land, and we'll give you a place to stay. You can eat and feed, and at the end of your contract, we'll even give you some land. And so when that letter went out, believe it or not, for those who don't know the history, black folks came here. But so did white folks, so did Asians, and other Europeans. Nobody was arguing and fighting each other about being dark or light, because they came on common ground. The letters that come to work, and they came to work. Now they were treated badly, but the whites were treated just as badly as the blacks in indentured servitude. But the problem was that when the contracts ran out, when the contracts ended, and they gave the sharecroppers and others, they kept a commitment and gave them land, then they had no one else to work the land. That's when slavery came about. And but black folks are the only people in the world, in the history, that was enslaved for over 247 years. And there's something about that 247 years mentality that is still holding us back today. And that's to me, that's a reality. Right now, the state of the conditions of black folk, that's what you'll hear about. You know what? We still have the highest crime rates in our communities. We still have the highest dropout rates in our community. We still have the highest healthcare problems all across the board. You name whatever it is, we have it. We're still the ones that's losing our homes more so than anyone else. We're still the ones that get the lesser pay when we go to work for somebody. And it's just a whole series of issues that's always plagued us as a people. But for the young people, the history of struggle goes way back to indentured servitude. And when the first slave arrived in 1619, back in Virginia, that's when that 247 years started. And we've been abused, and we've been, we were sold. A lot of stuff happened. But, freedom came. Because the good Lord, continues to look down, and he comes on his time, not on our time, we get that. But when freedom came, there were still problems. Because black folk did not know how to function as free people. They were so used to people dictating to them. Even with the pain and suffering, they were used to it. But there were folk who taught us how to read and write. There were white folks. And I think it's important that we talk about the diversity of relationships Because when slavery was about, all white folks didn't agree with slavery. There were slave masters, family members who would take little black folk down in areas where they wouldn't be seen or heard and taught them how to write and how to read. They thought it was wrong. And so as a result of that, they could have been penalized. And when we walk across the bridge, you know, Selma, etc., black folks didn't walk across the bridge in Selma with Dr. King. It was black folk and white folk and other folk. And when we set up the lunch counters, you know, down in the South, you know, to try to integrate those stores and those restaurants and get fair treatment for black folk and equality and justice for black folk. It wasn't just black folks down there, it was white folk. And when we went in and started to do the Freedom Riders who rode south to join the war with the freedom fighters, they weren't just black folks, they were white folks too. But there were white folks for common ground. The NAACP, the oldest organization in the country, civil rights organization, and probably the oldest in the world, in the international community, was founded in 1909. Now black folks think that the NAACP was founded by black folk. It was not founded by black folk. It was founded by white folk who invited us to be a part of. Now, there are more of us in it today than there was back then in our organization. But it's the diversity that we talk about. What bothers me is not the relationships as it relates to the ethnicity of a person, whether it's immigrant, whether it's black or white. It's what they feel inside and what they know about life and where their hearts and minds are. We have always bonded. What has happened to the condition of the black community is happening with stuff that's being fed to quote-unquote non-black folk by a handful of folk who want to control the wealth in this country and do control the wealth in this country, and then those who don't control wealth but control the politics. And that's why we have these kinds of problems that we are having. And so what do we do about it? That's the question. But first of all, we need to stop this nonsense about we're not going to vote. It bothers me because I came to Newark, New Jersey in 1955. I came to Newark, New Jersey the second week in January of 1955. And for the older people here, and for the younger people, I'm going to tell you what it meant. For the older people, you should know. I came the second week in January. That means in 1954, I was in Richmond, Virginia, to segregate the South. It was segregated because Brown versus Board of Education did not come about until 1954. I believe it was May or July, someplace, I forget the exact month. That's when integration took place. I came from the segregated South, where it said, black folk go to the back of the bus. I don't know if I ever did that. I remember doing it. I may have defined them then, but I don't remember, but it said black go to the back of the bus. Drink out of these water fountains. Go in the back with my mother, who worked in a restaurant. I'd go in the back to see her. We went to the movie to sit upstairs in the movies and stuff like that. So I remember the history. So when people ask me in Trenton, my colleagues say, well, why do you stand up and speak out the way you do, and you're not ashamed to say black? I said, because I know the history of black struggle. Now, I also know the history of black progress. The progress came because back then in 1950, people started to come together to mobilize. The progress came because in 1964, people came together, black, white, young, and old, and others, and they marched across those bridges, and they went to Washington, and they fought for the 1964 Civil Rights Act, so we can have more justice than we had prior to that. I know 1965. You may not want to vote, but you need to understand how voting came about. For black folk. And we still don't have total control of the votes because they have to reauthorize us every so many years. So we're good little people, then they're reauthorized. They're fighting now on some of the legislation dealing with voting. But we sit on and say we're not going to vote, but then we allow political bosses to pit us against each other. And we need to stop that. Political bosses pit us against each other. Black folks fighting black folks. I don't like you. Well, fine, you don't have to like me, but can we talk about the housing problem in our community? Because you have a housing problem too. How are we going to fix it? Can we talk about the jobs we don't have? Because everybody coming to America is getting jobs. You know, we don't have any. We have opportunities, and people want to share jobs with us, but we act like we don't want to work. How can you tell me that the immigrant population is taking a job for minimum wage? I don't think they should have to, but they do and they work. And I tell you there's a job over here, I ain't working for that. So you do what you have to do to survive until we can get to where we're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Look at the young people. I grew up working 2 jobs. I got married working 2 and 3 jobs. But it wasn't my goal to stay locked into those jobs. I wouldn't have got me a good education. Now let me talk about education. The establishment don't want to have an education. That's why I'm in Paterson. This district has been taken over 20 years. 20 years run by the state, and our kids are dying every day, and they're brain damaged and brain dead. Newark, Jersey City, now Camden, because we allowed that. Now the state said your condition in Paterson, I'm going to tell you what it is. You better be ready to mobilize if the black elected officials and other elected officials tell you to mobilize. Don't stay home and say it ain't going to make no difference, because it may not, but you get on those buses. You get in those cars and go where you have to go. That's how we made progress back in the 60s. We made progress because when there was a problem in our community, the few black elected officials we had, they came into the church with the clergy members, clergy leadership, and with labor members. And they said there's a problem with housing, there's a problem with jobs, there's a problem with health care. How do we want to fix this? And they said, I don't know. So Councilman McCoy said, well, maybe if we do this, that'll fix it. And then Councilwoman Captain said, well, that's not going to work, McCoy, because if you do that, you got to put this with it. And then someone else came and said, you got to do this. So there was always these meetings where there was discussion about the problems that was plaguing our community. And then we would leave the churches and we'll say, okay, next week we're coming back and we're going to discuss this further until we can collectively figure out a solution to our problems. Well, when we got to the point that we thought we had a solution, that was called a policy. You with me? A policy. It wasn't called politics. It was called a policy. And it's the policy that drives the politics. The policy, we took to somebody and said, excuse me, sir, or excuse me, ma'am. We have a problem. We think we know how we can fix it. Can you help us? Because we know that you are an elected official or you're running for office. No, I can't entertain that. But fine, we can't entertain you. That's the politics. Politics, as I told the black elected officials, statewide alliance that we just started. Policy versus politics. Policy comes first. It is the policy about the politics, and where black folks got offline was that, and I blame some of us for not passing along. But what we got off track, the people said, what's wrong with our community? We got away from the policy meetings, and we got into the politics. Let me tell you about policy versus politics. Policy is something you have to work on and meet on a regular basis. I just told you that the leadership went into the church and they talked and they went back next week and they talked and they went back into their solution. That's a policy meeting. The election comes once a year. We stopped the policy meeting and got into the politics. Right. A good example, Benjamin Wimberly, your assembly person, and Shavonda Sumter, they just finished the election a few months ago. Is that right? Yes. That was the end of politics. Guess when the next election is? Over here. What happens in here? I'm going to tell you what's happening there. White folks are coming to the table every day. Steve Sweeney, the speaker, the governor, the corporate people, the political bosses, the hedge fund people, they're coming to the table every day in between the end of the election and the beginning, setting policies. They're setting policies that say, we're going to continue to turn back the rights of women and black folk and minorities. That's what they're coming to the table on. And they come and say, here's how we're going to deal with this logistically. They're even so sophisticated today that they prevent black folk who look like me and walk like me and talk like me to actually put in the legislation and support the stuff that's going to hurt us and turn us back. Because we don't do our homework and we're not coming together addressing policy. So we said we want housing. They said, yeah, we're going to give you housing, so why don't you put this in, McCoy? But McCoy put it in, and guess what? Paterson give housing. But then when the houses started to go, we found out the houses like Jersey City, Gold Coast, every building is $1 million, you can't live in it, you don't even get the job. Because we didn't come together to determine our own destiny as the people, and set our own housing policy, and set our own health care, can't get our job. Everybody with me so far? And so for us to be solid and tight and worry about what the newspaper going to say about us, because we don't control the newspaper. In fact, if you read the Commonwealth document, the attack on public education, which is the attack on organized labor, they tell you when they organize the money and Justice Powell, the Supreme Court Justice, was a part of that. They tell you in the document, they don't hide anything, we just don't read. They tell you that the way to bust up unions is to get black folk away from unions and get Latinos away from the unions. They said, but there's a problem. Well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is that black folks are loyal to the union because it's because of organized labor that black folks have opportunities to be protected. They said, but the Latinos, you can pull away because they go like this. And this is not to offend the Latinos here, that's written. I ain't saying it, that's what they said. But I watched that to be true. More so than blacks. They said blacks can sit home and don't vote at all before they go Republican or be sprayed that way. And we do. We sit home too much. And that's what the problem is. Every dime that comes into Paterson from the federal government is directed, as much as you don't know, by the number of voters that come to the polls. The same as the state level. So if you don't vote, you lose money, then you beat up on your council people and your mayor talking about how you going to fix this? What you going to do about this? Well, you know what? Government is not a business. They can't produce some new goods or services that they can market and make more money. For them to fix, they got to get money from you. And so that's the reality. And so we have to get our act together. The New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, which I'm the chair and I'm proud to be the chair of the organization, love your organization. There are 18 of us out of 120 legislators, there are only 18 black folk. And that's sad. And when I went to Trenton in 1986, there was only one black person, and most of you know her, old people, Senator Winona Lippman, out of 40 state senators in 1986, to show you the racism and the bias in this state, only had one black person. When I went to Trenton in 1986, it was the first time in the history of the state. I'm going to say it again. The first time in the history of the state, 1986, that two black people sat in a 40-member Senate at the same time. Now, here it is 2016, and we only have 4 people. We had 6. You said, what happened? What happened? You don't vote. What happened? Political forces control us. And so they take Dana Red out of the Senate because they control some of us and say, you're not going to be in the Senate, we're going to make you the mayor so we can control you down in Camden so we can take over school districts and stuff like that. And we're going to put the political boss brother down the cross in the Senate. So I lose a good black senator for a white person who's the brother, he's a congressman now, a political boss. Nice guy. But what happened to us? We didn't vote. We fell for the okie doke down there. And so Camden's in the same shape in terms of the black condition that Paterson. In fact, Paterson's in better shape, you know, than Camden because you have more people fighting back than you do in Camden. We have a handful of folks down there fighting back. And so this is not an easy role, if you will, to hold. But as chairman of the Legislative Black Caucus and as the senior serving black elected official in the state, statewide, and I know someone said elder, but the elder is not, the elder now, elder head can be defined a couple ways down there, You must have been elder like preacher, I don't think, but seriously, for the first time in the history of the state of New Jersey, the Legislative Black Caucus recognized we have to take a step back, regardless of how bad things are. And what we did was, we knew that we had to try to bring every black elected official in the state, from the school board, the council members, the freeholders, the black state elected officials, and the black congressional delegation, Cory Booker, Bonnie Weiss-Coleman, and Donald Payne, into the room at the same time and have some serious conversation about what we're supposed to be doing as black leaders on your behalf and why you elected us. And on December the 12th, in Ewing Township, New Jersey, we held the first historic black elected official statewide alliance, policy alliance, not political, policy. And I gave them the plenary on policy versus politics. So we left there with an organization that we want to enhance. But you know what the problem was? When we wanted to do this, I said, okay, we're going to call everybody together. where's the list of black elected officials? Well, no black organization had a list of black elected officials statewide. And so I figured, well, I'll just go to the state government, because when you get elected, you have to fill these papers out, and you have to send them to Trenton, and they have to certify that you're elected. So they know you got elected. So I went to elect, and they said, we don't have a list of black elected officials. I said, well, I find that very interesting. In 2015, that's when we started. 2015, you don't have a list of black elected officials. I said, you do know I'm elected, right? Oh yeah, we know you're elected, and you don't know I'm black? So I said, if you don't know I'm black, then you don't know Hispanics except for the surnames. You don't know all the women except for the name, but women can be tricky, because I know some women named Willie. I know Willie Tucker's a lady. I said, so that's horrible. In 2016, 2015-16, we can't even be identified from an ethnic perspective black elected officials. And so Leslie Black Caucus working with the Institute of Social Justice, we put together a list. We had to call down to all these little towns, and I'm going to end this soon. We called the little towns and things like that, and my staff were getting frustrated because when you go to Salem County and Gloucester County, you know, that's still Klan country down there. Yeah. And that's still Klan country. I'm talking about for real. It's still Klan country, okay? And my staff were calling us, I'm calling on behalf of Senator Rice. We'd like to know, are there any black folk on council? They got scared. Oh, I didn't want to know that. They thought we were going to demonstrate and march, I guess, you know. But so I had to back up, but it was last February, a year from today. So I said, let me write a script, because we're going to get your name. Somebody's going to tell us where you are. So I wrote a script for my staff. So my staff, Councilman Coy, Councilman Catton, they had my script, and they called and they said, my name is such and such from Councilman Rice's, Senator Rice's office. And you know, the senator is the chairman of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, and this is Black History Month. And we are working with the university students to identify black elected officials. As soon as it became an academic project, okay, rather than a demonstration or a civil rights lawsuit for not having us, it was all right. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Well, I tell you what, we got the list. And we're meeting. I'll be in Paterson, and for every elected official here in a couple of weeks, under the leadership of Assemblyman Wimberly and Siobhan DeSumter, my right hand, you know, I'll be here because I expect every black elected official to be at a meeting. Every black elected official to be at a meeting. Because I'm going to come talk to you because we're going to have the Sayre County Black Elected Official Alliance. And we're not trying to exclude people, and so I don't want other people to think that we're being racist about it, but the historical nature of what we have to do tells me I got to talk to my people first and organize them, because we have dropped the ball over here. And I'm going to do that. But we're not waiting on anyone. But Assemblywoman Bonnie Washington Coleman, before she left, she's a congresswoman now, we're going to recreate the statewide alliance also that Congressman Payne had. He didn't use it from my perspective as effectively as it could have been used. But the statewide alliance won't be the black elected official alliance. It's going to be a statewide alliance that's all inclusive. It's going to be our clergy leadership and clergy organizations. The Black Caucus have a partnership right now that we can communicate with over 350 clergy people from South Jersey to North, East to West. And it's going to be civil rights leaders. It's going to be nonprofit organizations, and it's sororities and fraternities that are active in our communities, and other people of goodwill who want to have participation and setting policy and driving it. We encourage everybody to get back involved with the Black Issues Convention. I am one of the founding members of the Black Issues Convention, which is 33 years old. The only one left in the country. They said New Jersey couldn't survive. We're the only surviving black issues. But we need to get our people back involved, because that's our provision to address this stuff. And so we're going to take the alliances to help enhance that, and we're going to be able to set the policy and tell you about those policies and what we are doing during the course of the year as Black alliances throughout. So I want to end by saying it's good to be here, and there's a lot of work to be done. Don't ever be ashamed of work. Don't ever be ashamed to lead. What's getting ready to take place right now in Paterson, I know elections coming up, but if you have good leaders, then let other folks know I'm not against you, but why am I moving a good leader? Just because you gave my son a job, just because you gave me some board position to boost my ego, we cannot sell out black folks, and we cannot sell out our rights and our projects for our personal gain. If you you want a personal gain, then stay away from the rest of us. Don't go on council and sell us out. Don't go on the state legislature and sell us out. Don't go to Congress and sell us out. In fact, don't go if you can't stand up and speak out on our behalf. So I'm here. I want to thank you, Councilwoman, for having me. I want to thank Paterson for being here with me and let you know we're there fighting as best we can. Leslie Black Caucus, along working with some of my other colleagues who are not members of the caucus to try to make things right. It's not easy. I'm going to close by telling the young people, the only rights you have, they tell you about all these rights because y'all killing each other now. The only rights you have right now is the right to do right. Now, the constitutional rights you have is our job as adults to protect them for you. But the only right we let you handle as parents and adults is the right to do right. You got that? And one of those rights that we keep fighting for is a quality education. They may have taken over the Paterson school system, but they did not take over your brains and your minds, okay? You understand that? We'll get it back. And they may have taken the playgrounds and shut them down. They may have taken the arts out of school, but they haven't taken away your brain power and your ability to learn to read, write, and do math. When you learn those kinds of things, you too gonna be president. You too gonna be senator. You too gonna be somebody. Thank you very much.
Can we have a round of applause for Senator Ron Rice? Our right to do right, 2016. Our right to rise up and to motivate each other, to empower each other, to inspire each other, to progress, and to represent our community the best way we know how, the best way we can. I don't want to belabor you guys any longer. This was an awesome event. Is everybody in agreement with that? We had amazing speakers and input today as far as where we need to be as a Black community and what we need to do to move our community forward in keeping.
Wow. I think I can use that as an introduction to simply attempt to describe the experiences we had here today at Public School number 6 as the Save the Village Black Condition Conference had its second annual conversation. And as we come to an end, and there is no such thing as an end when we talk about the condition of how we live, the condition of how we look and expect the future, but it is a continuation of what it is that we have been placed here on this earth to do for all people. So, the experience in listening to Senator Rice and the many facilitators and the many workshops, and these workshops were all centered around developing and helping our young people as well as adults to become the best that they could be. So, until next year, we will say so long, and we definitely hope that we can reach out to this community, even in a deeper sense, and let's continue to come together to talk about all things, all people, but specifically, we have to take care of self. On that note, thank you, and have a good evening.
lifelong resident of Paterson. And this conference has been very helpful. It's been very informative. I learned a lot about, especially our education system and how it affects our children, on the economic value of it, and also the cultural situation with it, and different ways that we can be engaged and be involved. So it's so far this conference has really been a blessing as far as go with information, especially in particular when it comes to education.
Conference. It has been really fantastic. We talked today about the Black women's issues, and New Family Foundation, of which I am the vice president, has made a commitment to host more conversations and workshops in our community about Black women's issues. So look forward to that, and I'm really happy to be here. And for everybody who organized this event, you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much, and it's really a pleasure to be a part of it.
I am so glad that we had a great turnout for Save the Village, the Black Condition. I am Janet McDaniel. I'm a member of New Family Foundation, and this conference is the epitome of what we want to see. We want to see unity, umoja. We want to see people working together, ujima, collective work and responsibility. We need to have a purpose when we do something, and that's what we had today. We have a call to action to lift up our community. We have to do that ourselves. Our first speaker, Larry Ham, gave us a directive: get out the vote, register and vote.
Hi, my name is Marcella. I came here just to network and meet other people that are interested in engaging with Black concerns, what's going on in our communities, and what we can do to make things better, and see how I can contribute anything that I can do.
Save the Village Black Condition Conference 2016, here with this great dynamic young man, Mr. Zelly Thomas. Zelly, how did you enjoy the conference so far, and what are some of the issues and ideas that you can speak to in saving our village and bringing change within our Black community?
Yes, definitely having a great time so far. One of the things that I went to was the economic empowerment workshop, where we discussed some of the problems that's plaguing our Black community today and some of the solutions that we can come about to confront those challenges that we face, particularly cooperative economics, about how we can pool our resources and better our community.
All right, wonderful. What is it that NJ Shut It Down is doing right now throughout the nation and throughout the state of New Jersey to advocate for young Black lives, to say that Black lives do matter, and to let our young people know that we can in fact make an impact in the political landscape and the community on a whole?
Yeah, definitely. New Jersey Shut It Down, or NJ Shut It Down, is a collective of all the New Jersey schools and campuses across New Jersey, and one of the things that we're focusing on right now is trying to get free education for all Black and Indigenous students. So we look for free tuition for all Black Indigenous students in the country as well.
Wow. Well, that's powerful, man. I once again want to say on behalf of Save the Village Black Condition Group 2016 that we want to thank you for being here and you know, being a part of this conference, and hopefully next year you'll be one of our keynote speakers.
Thank you.
All right.
This is Mike Williams. I'm here at the Black Condition Conference 2016. Having a good time so far. A lot of very interesting conversations about the Black condition, not just in Paterson, but in the United States as a whole. Some of the emphasis is on voting, which we've earned that right to vote, and which Dr. Ham and Mr. Ham encourage everyone that they should actually vote, considering the presidential election. But also when we look at the local election, it doesn't matter who you're going to back. The first thing you need to do is register. Then the second thing you need to do is go vote. But very interesting conversation here at the conference. A lot of discussion about education, a lot of discussion about political accountability and so forth. These are things that we need to be talking about in our community. Now it's a matter of what do we do next in terms of the work, and let's get an outcome from this meeting, and then something we can that's actionable, that we can actually put into action and actually get some things done that will have a positive impact on our community.
This is Donna Nelson Ivy coming to you live from the second annual Save the Village Black Conditions Conference. Yeah, and I am so excited to be here. It's a wonderful turnout again, and the speakers have been absolutely incredible and really talked about the needs of our community and how we can address it. So I am just so glad to be at the Black Conditions Conference this year, and you see all these wonderful, beautiful people around us, and we are having a good time, but also establishing an agenda. Thank you so much, and look forward to the updates. Thank you.
Commissioner Fabian Hero with the Paterson Parking Authority. I just want to say that it's been a privilege and an honor to be with the Save the Village Conference. This is about the community. It's not about politics. It's not about us. It's not about people, but it's about young black men like myself coming together and making sure that we stick together as a community. I look forward to seeing greater things happen in Paterson. Congratulations, Black Conference 2016. Bless you.
How you doing, Paterson? This is Ken McDaniel. I'm here at the Black Condition Conference. Glad to be here. An excellent conference, excellent speakers. The energy is up. Hopefully everybody here will spread the word to other ones at home in the community, and it's time for us to come together, share our information, and move forward as a community. Take care.
My name is Kathy Morgan, and I'm here today with the Black Issues Conference to Save the Village. We had a wonderful turnout this year, and we would like you all just come out, get involved. We meet every Saturday. It's a very excellent event. Come out and just join.
Hello everyone, I'm Council President Bill McCoy, and I'm here today at School 6, a part of the Black Condition Conference sponsored by Save the Village, where we had some outstanding speakers that gave us great information and insight as to how we can move our community and our city forward. I'm certainly delighted to be a part of it and to see the exciting change that's afoot for our community. Save the Village, Black Condition, School 6, an outstanding evening. We ought to commend all of the organizers and those that put forth the effort. We had a special speaker, Ronald Rice, Senator Ron Rice, and we're delighted to have him in the city of Paterson.
Everything he said is true. This has been a wonderful conference. I'm so looking forward to next year, and I'm hoping that maybe I can convince them that I can help out with all of the things that comes out of this conference and the planning for next year. We really absolutely need this, and it's wonderful, wonderful to be here today. You have words?
I just want to say that I'm totally delighted to be a part of this conference. This is the second year. I'm reminded of a statement of truth. Where there's a vision, people can go forth, but where there is no vision, people perish. So Save the Village is a vision dealing with the quality of life here in the city of Paterson. And if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And so as we continue to forge ahead, as we continue to fight, we will stand and we will speak until we see change come about. God bless.
I'd like to thank all those who came out to the second annual Save the Village Black Condition Conference. This was held at School 6, and we discussed issues including black men's issues, black women's issues, black youth advocacy, economic empowerment, political accountability, seniors issues. Today, we had over 350 persons partaking in these workshops. Our guest speakers included Senator Ron Rice and Lawrence Ham. We encourage persons to follow us on Facebook as we implement all the proposals given to us, and we move to help the mobilization of our community. And once again, I'd like to thank all the organizers who worked with us and the visionary, Mr. Ernie Rucker, for conceiving such an event. And we look forward to seeing you next year at next year's conference. God bless.
My name is Ruby. I'm Councilwoman Cotton from the 4th Ward here, and we're now at the conclusion of our Save the Village Black Condition Conference, which went very well. If you did not attend, you missed really a good conference. We had Senator Rice here from the 28th Legislative District out of Newark. We also had Tiffany McCoy. We had Hassan Garrett, and then we also had Lawrence Ham. So we got some good messages that are very important for us, and that we must digest what they have told us that what we need to do, and we must do what they say we need to do. If you missed it, you should have been here, but we will still continue through the years of having meetings and putting things together. And again, this was an excellent conference, our second annual Black Condition Conference, Save the Village 2016. Thank you.
My heart is very warm and heavy right now because this day, Save the Village, the Black Condition, brought together some of the best minds and best leaders in our local community. We saw the work that we have to commit ourselves to from this day forward, all the issues that impact us as citizens, as parents, as black women, as black men in the Paterson community. And another thing is that our young people, we have to have a message to our young people. We have to leave a lesson, a legacy to them. And the speakers today, Senator Rice, and many others, just Larry Ham gave us so much to think about. And I'm just honored to be here and to be a part of it. But now our work begins. Thank you.